smelling well?
No, a little pale, just a little bit of pale.
You had fun this morning, it was so pretty.
Pencil, but you never know.
Thank you for coming. Our next interviewee is Caddy McKeown. Did I say that right?
You did.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
Sometimes I get through.
It's an odd name. It's mispronounced consistently. So
There's
you
also
did well.
McGowan. In the
And
community.
McKeown, and,
Yeah.
but it is McKeown.
Thank you. First question we have is, do you have any prior knowledge of any of the questions we might ask from talking to possibly these
not.
committee people? Thank you. Getting right started, why do you want to be commissioner? And describe what you want to accomplish in the 2-year term, and where do you see the county in 2 years and 15 years? So the first part is, why do you want to be commissioner? Describe what you want to accomplish in the first 2 years.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to go back a number of years. I was fortunate to grow up in Coos County with parents who demonstrated to me the importance of being involved in activities that impact the community. I was thinking about this on the way over, so this is a good question for me. When I was young, I had 2 sisters. We had 1 television, and most evenings we had the ability to do whatever we wanted with it. And when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I remember very clearly one night when my sisters and I finished dinner, finished our homework, and were getting ready to watch television, and my father appeared and decided that what we wanted to watch was not what he wanted to watch. And it was an odd event because most evenings he was out doing his civic duty. He was either at a college board meeting, or he was at a water board meeting, or he was down taking care of his business. And he demonstrated to us at a very early age that doing your part because it's the right thing to do is important. So I was modeled well. Forward a few decades, I think it's important to continue on through your life giving back to a community that raised me well. I've had the great good fortune to grow up here, to have my children be able to grow up here. My parents grew up here. My grandparents grew up here to the greatest extent, and I'm committed to it. And at a young age, when my kids were small, I became engaged with the school district. That was the arena in which I chose to be involved at that time. I became involved in a number of private nonprofit boards, the Bologna Ranch, for example. I think I sat on that board for 15 years or so, give or take. A bunch of other small organizations that do good works in the community, and then moved on to larger organizations, the Port, of course, the Energy Trust. And I found that, for one thing, it feels really good to participate and to feel like you're doing your part. I think it's wonderful to have an opportunity to learn about things that are going on, not only in your local community, citywide, but in the county and in the state. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to, in some way, influence outcomes. As far as goals for the county, I haven't been involved in the county at a significant level. So I'm going to hedge a little bit on that one. I think I have a lot to learn before I can quantify specific goals. I can tell you that, as a citizen of this community, I see opportunities for us in economic development. I see opportunities for us to transition back to a more robust economy that we grew up with in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. As a school board member, I had the difficult job of seeing a population of about 4,700 students when my tenure started dwindle to about 34 or 3,500 students when my tenure ended. I was unfortunate enough to be sitting on the board when we closed, I believe, all told, 7 elementary schools. I've seen this county transition from very robust to a county that has now, I think, opportunities for growth. And I would love to see those populations of students increase again. That we have a consistent total population, but the families are no longer here in a robust, at a robust level. I've had the great good fortune also to work in high schools in Coquille and Bandon and Coos Bay and North Bend, and have had an opportunity to see what's happened in those school districts from a professional side in the job that I did, not in the board service that I did. And I think we can do better. I think we can provide opportunities, hopefully, that will allow business to come here, to allow family wage jobs to reestablish themselves, and to create a more vibrant community where we have more young people. Not being specific about this county, since I'm not there yet, but that's what I see in 2 years is stepping that direction. And of course, dealing with issues that the county has, I know, with budgetary issues. Not in the greatest detail that you do, but it's apparent that there are some budgetary challenges. But I think in 15 years, I would like to see us at least beginning to approach that level of opportunity where people can raise their children here again at a more robust level.
How can county government be streamlined and more effective both in efficiencies and government and costs?
Well, as I mentioned, I've been there and done that. I think we had a few years of my 12-year tenure on the school board where our budgets were adequate. When Measure 5 passed and the equity issue kicked a little money our way, we were doing all right. But after that, we hit some difficult times, and I'm not uncomfortable with dealing with those types of difficult decisions. I did take a cursory look at your budget, not knowing if I was going to be seated or not. I didn't spend hours and hours on it, but I did take a look. From a school district perspective, and I think you're similar in how you budget, you have funds that run different departments have different staffing levels. I know you have 7 or 8 bargaining units, you have management staff. It's similar to how a school district runs. And it's a matter of going in and taking a good hard look and seeing where those efficiencies can be made. And again, I haven't been in on the ground level with how the county operates yet, but the process isn't, I don't believe, a whole lot different than it is in looking at a school district budget and having to cut $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million, depending on what the year's revenue offer. It also has to do with how you manage facilities, what your physical plant looks like, how many buildings you operate, what you absolutely are compelled to provide, and where the issues in your line items are where there's some wiggle room. So I see consistencies in how you go in and trim a budget. But again, I'm not as familiar with the intricacies of your budget as I am with some other budgets that I've worked on over the years.
Well, I think you kind of covered question 3 and I'll read it.
Sure.
Have you studied the county budget for 10-11, current budget, and any prior year's budgets, and what is your opinion, and if not, why not? So I think you did that already. If you'd like to elaborate, go ahead.
No, not being, again, as familiar with your budget as I am with some others. I guess I'll hearken it again to how I approach a school budget. I mean, everything's on the table in the beginning. And when we start a budget cycle with the school district or with the port or with the energy trust or with any other organization I've been involved in, the process is the same. You start looking at what your projections are. You look at each department. You look at your staffing levels. You look at your physical plant. You find where you have some things you can't change. Some things you can change, and you have to determine what those things are that are open for discussion. And then I think as 3 commissioners, you'd have to look at them very carefully and come to some kind of consensus as to what they are. It may be a combination of departments. It may, and I'm bringing that out of the air. I don't have any departments targeted. I'm just talking in general terms about how I would approach a budget that has some challenges, and that's the way I've done it in the past.
Just a little side note, I made some of the same comments here a while back when we talked to all the departments of the county in this very room. Talked about maybe combining, et cetera, and how we can make more efficiencies. And I talked about we had lost jailers, and we went from 242 beds to 97 beds. And the next day in the news, I see Maine recommends cutting the jail. So they're certainly using that as a past example of what they did in the past. So
I understand. That's why I'm being very cautious, yes.
I picked that up, that you're cautious about
Sure.
saying something that all of a sudden somebody flies with. And,
Right.
yeah.
I've been misquoted once or twice, Commissioner. It happens.
Do you have any thoughts or opinions on the Coos County Comprehensive Plan, Estuary Plan, our coastal zone management rules, and the role of the Oregon Department of LCDC, Land Conservation Development?
Sure, certainly. Again, my experience with those organizations has been cursory, because I haven't dealt specifically with county issues. On the Port Commission, I've had, of course, blushes with the Estuary Plan and OCZMA. I've attended some of their meetings, but we have staff that does a lot of that for us as our representatives. Land use law, to be perfectly honest, I haven't had a lot of experience with LCDC, so it's something that I would of course work very hard to get up to speed on, but it's not something I've had a great deal of experience with. I would look forward to it.
What are your thoughts concerning the development and use of the natural resource assets held by private and public entities?
Oh, gosh. Well, I grew up in an era where there were a lot of 3-log loads going down the highway, and there was a ship down at the end of Anderson Street just darn near every day, and people had money in their pockets. So I grew up in a resource-based economy and am not averse to investigating increasing use of natural resources. However, we do have federal, state, and local laws, policies, ordinances that are in place for a reason to protect our environment. So as any seated, elected, or appointed official, you have to work within the framework of what the law, the statute provides. But I am very interested in, again, economic development within the bounds of what the law provides. I guess I can put it that way. I would love to see more timber come off our public and private lands, if it's done in a sustainable manner. But there are laws and rules in place that govern that. So I'm probably a bit jaded because I saw this when this was a very robust economy, and I think there's some opportunity for us to embrace moving back that direction within the bounds of what the law provides.
Excuse me, Bob. Caddy, I apologize. I forgot to shut my cell phone off after the last break.
Mr. Peabody,
It
that
was-
happens too.
It was ringing.
I could hear it,
I
but I don't
thought-
think
I
they
thought it
could.
was- Yeah, I didn't hear it. I couldn't hear it
Oh,
over
you're
here,
right.
so.
By the way, in case there, well,
Anyway,
anyway, I apologize, Caddy.
No,
Terrence
no
is-
problem. Small enough to get through, obviously, the rail bridge and get under the McCullough Bridge. I mean, we have those. It's not happening yet. But to make us really financially viable